What if the most incredible war stories weren't invented by Hollywood but ripped straight from real life? The 1970s gave us an entire generation of war films that didn't just show history, they relived it. These weren't fantasy battles or patriotic fanfare, they were the real deal. Some were shot on the same soil where the fighting once happened. Others revealed the chaos no textbook dared describe. Let's revisit 12 forgotten war films that actually happened and deserve your attention. Number 12. The Battle of Neretva, 1970. You can almost feel the gunpowder in the air. The Battle of Neretva wasn't just inspired by real history, it was practically filmed inside it. Based on the true 1943 battle in Yugoslavia, the movie follows partisan forces trying to escape Axis troops by blowing up their only bridge of survival. It's one of the rare films that turns an act of destruction into an unforgettable symbol of resistance. Director Veljko Bulajic didn't hold back. This wasn't some studio-built fantasy. He used actual military equipment, thousands of real soldiers, and real locations that had seen combat only decades earlier. Even Pablo Picasso designed the film's poster, a detail that says everything about how seriously this production treated history as art. The film doesn't glamorize battle. Instead, it captures the raw desperation of a nation surrounded. Yugoslav cinema poured its national pride and heartbreak into it, transforming local history into an epic that rivals Hollywood's biggest war spectacles. Critics called it one of Europe's boldest post-war productions, and while it never became a blockbuster in America, it remains a masterpiece of authenticity, a film where history didn't just inspire the story, it was the story. If you've ever wondered what realism in war cinema truly looks like, this is it. Number 11. Tora. Tora. 1970. Before Pearl Harbor tried to dramatize the infamous attack with CGI, Tora did it with precision and respect for the truth. Released in 1970, this Japanese-American co-production recreated the attack on Pearl Harbor with meticulous accuracy, showing both sides of the event equally. Here's what makes it legendary. Every explosion, every strategy meeting, every radar misreading really happened. The film's title itself, Tora, the Japanese code for success, was used during the actual attack. It's not just a movie, it's a time capsule of one of the 20th century's most studied military moments. Director Richard Fleischer handled the American sequences, while Toshio Masuda and Kinji Fukasaku directed the Japanese side. The result? A balanced perspective that humanizes both nations, something unheard of at the time. Real ships were rebuilt, authentic planes flew in formation, and the visual effects team used full-scale models and pyrotechnics so convincing that even real veterans were shaken. Critics admired its honesty but found it too clinical for mainstream tastes. Yet decades later, historians still praise it as one of the most accurate recreations ever filmed. It's not about heroes or villains, it's about how systems fail, how warnings go ignored, and how history changes in a single morning. If you want a war movie that sticks to facts yet feels like a thriller, Tora remains the gold standard. Number 10. Play Dirty, 1970. Imagine being dropped into the Sahara with a team of outcasts and told to pull off a mission no one expects you to survive. That's Play Dirty, and yes, it's based on the true exploits of British commando units in North Africa during the Second World War. Michael Caine stars as a reluctant officer leading a group of mercenaries through miles of desert to destroy an enemy fuel depot. But here's the twist. They're not the clean-cut heroes you'd expect. The group includes criminals, opportunists, and men who'd rather cash in than salute. It's the anti-Lawrence of Arabia. Director André de Toth filmed in brutal desert conditions, giving the movie a gritty authenticity. The heat feels real because it was. The sandstorms weren't staged, they were endured. Caine's performance alongside Nigel Davenport captures the tension between professionalism and pure survival instinct. What separates Play Dirty from the usual adventure flick is its moral edge. Every decision is shaded in gray. The mission may be real, but so is the price of ambition and deceit. The story's end delivers a gut punch so ironic it feels ripped from real military history because it almost was. Over time, Play Dirty earned cult status as one of the most realistic portrayals of desert warfare ever shot. It's smart, unsentimental, and brutally honest, exactly what real war usually is. Number 9. The McKenzie Break, 1970. World War II didn't just happen on battlefields, it happened behind barbed wire too. The McKenzie Break brings one of those hidden stories to life. Based on true escape attempts from a German POW camp in Scotland, this thriller turns confinement into a mind game between equals. Brian Keith plays the no-nonsense British officer sent to contain the brilliant German commander, played by Helmut Greim. What follows isn't just an escape plan, it's psychological warfare. Every scene is a chess move, every silence a trap. Director Lamont Johnson used the remote Scottish Highlands to stunning effect. The cold gray landscapes reflect the emotional chill between captors and captives. What makes it fascinating is its refusal to simplify. Both sides are smart, disciplined, and desperate. There's no cartoon villain here, only men trying to outthink each other while duty crushes morality. The story mirrors actual incidents where German officers plotted large-scale breakouts from Allied camps. Johnson keeps it taut realistic and surprisingly human. By the time the escape attempt unfolds, you realize this isn't just about freedom, it's about pride, strategy, and survival under impossible odds. Though overlooked at release, The McKenzie Break has aged into one of the sharpest war dramas of its decade. If you love films where the real battles happen in the mind, this one will keep you guessing long after the credits roll. Number 8. The Blockhouse, 1973. Few war films are as quietly terrifying as The Blockhouse. And here's the part that will stay with you: it really happened. In 1944, a group of forced laborers in France took shelter during a bombing raid. The entrance collapsed, trapping them underground for years. Clive Reese turned this chilling true story into a psychological masterpiece. The men begin with optimism, they have food, candles, and each other, but as days blur into weeks and months, the light literally fades. Their world shrinks to flickering shadows and whispered arguments. Peter Sellers, usually known for comedy, gives a hauntingly restrained performance as Rouquet, a man unraveling in silence. Alongside Charles Aznavour and Jeremy Kemp, the ensemble captures every stage of human breakdown: denial, anger, nostalgia, and finally surrender. What makes the film so powerful is its simplicity. It never leaves the bunker. The claustrophobia is real, you feel it closing in. Cinematographer Walter LaSalle shot everything by candlelight, turning the men's survival into a visual metaphor for dwindling hope. This isn't about battles or victories, it's about endurance and the slow erosion of sanity when the world outside forgets you exist. Critics at the time didn't know what to make of it, but modern viewers recognize it as one of the purest depictions of psychological survival ever filmed. The Blockhouse proves that not every war story ends with an explosion, some end with silence. Number 7. Massacre in Rome, 1973. Sometimes history doesn't need exaggeration, it's already too horrifying to embellish. Massacre in Rome recounts one of the darkest episodes of the Second World War. The 1944 Ardeatine Caves killings, where over 300 Italian civilians were executed in retaliation for a partisan attack on German troops. Director George Pankosmatos takes a measured, almost surgical approach to the story. Rather than rely on spectacle, he focuses on procedure, the cold bureaucracy that turns human lives into numbers on a list. Richard Burton plays Colonel Kappler, the German officer caught between orders and morality. Marcello Mastroianni portrays the Italian priest trying to reason with impossible authority. Their performances anchor the film in the grim tension between duty and conscience. What makes it stand out is how ordinary the evil feels. The planning scenes are eerily quiet. No one shouts, no one argues, they just carry out commands with chilling calm. Cosmatos was inspired by original documents and testimonies, ensuring that nearly every scene aligns with what truly happened. The film doesn't lecture, it observes, and that makes it more disturbing. Shot on location in Rome, the film's muted color palette mirrors a city buried in grief. Critics praised its restraint and historical precision, though audiences found it hard to watch because it should be. Massacre in Rome reminds us that history's most shocking moments aren't born from chaos, but from obedience. For anyone who believes war movies must thrill, this one proves that sometimes truth is too heavy to dramatize. It's a film you don't just watch, you carry it afterward. Number 6. Operation Daybreak, 1975. Heroism doesn't always come with fanfare. Operation Daybreak tells the true story of two Czech resistance fighters who parachuted into Nazi-occupied Prague to assassinate Reinhard Heydrich, one of the most feared men of the regime. It's a mission so dangerous that even their superiors knew they probably wouldn't make it back. Director Lewis Gilbert, best known for big-budget adventures, stripped everything down here. No glamour, no bravado, just courage pressed against the wall. Filmed on actual Prague streets where the events occurred, the film's realism is its greatest weapon. Every cobblestone, every church corner carries the weight of what truly happened. Timothy Bottoms, Martin Shaw, and Anton Diffring deliver understated performances that make the story feel painfully human. These aren't superheroes, they're young men with trembling hands trying to change history with limited time and even fewer resources. Gilbert builds tension not through explosions, but through waiting, the endless, suffocating kind of waiting that real missions demand. When the ambush unfolds, it's swift and brutal, not stylized, just tragic. The following siege inside the church, based on eyewitness accounts, becomes one of the most heart-pounding sequences in 70s cinema. The film ends not with triumph, but with quiet devastation, mirroring the real mission's cost. Though it didn't make waves at the box office, Operation Daybreak earned deep respect among historians and veterans. It's proof that bravery doesn't need to shout, it just needs to hold its ground. Number 5. Overlord, 1975. What if a war film looked like it was filmed during the war itself? Overlord pulled off that illusion. Director Stuart Cooper blended newly shot scenes with real archival footage from Britain's Imperial War Museum to create a haunting portrayal of one young soldier's path from training to D-Day. The result feels almost like a dream, one that keeps slipping into nightmare. Actor Brian Sterner plays Tom, a quiet British recruit haunted by the sense that he won't make it home. Every frame pulses with authenticity because Cooper used original World War II lenses and film stock to match the archival material. The transitions between reality and fiction are so seamless, you forget where history ends and storytelling begins. The film never shows the battle as spectacle. Instead, it studies the soldier's mind, the dread, the waiting, the mechanical repetition of drills that feel more like rituals than preparation. Paul Glass's haunting score underscores the sense of inevitability, while the grainy black-and-white cinematography turns every scene into a ghostly memory. When the invasion finally arrives, it's not glorified, it's portrayed as a storm swallowing men whole. Overlord doesn't celebrate war, it mourns it. Released quietly, the film was overshadowed by louder productions, but it's now restored and revered as one of the most authentic depictions of wartime experience ever made. If you want to feel what it was like to be there, confused, scared, determined, this film captures it better than any reenactment ever could. Number 4. A Bridge Too Far, 1977. It had the cast, the budget, and the ambition, but A Bridge Too Far also had something rarer: respect for the truth. Directed by Richard Attenborough, the film tells the story of Operation Market Garden, the real 1944 Allied plan that aimed to end the war by Christmas and failed spectacularly. With Sean Connery, Robert Redford, Anthony Hopkins, and Gene Hackman leading the ensemble, this was one of the decade's biggest productions. But beneath the Hollywood names lies a documentary-level attention to detail. Attenborough filmed in the exact Dutch towns where the operation took place, even consulting surviving veterans to ensure accuracy. The film doesn't sugarcoat anything. Communication collapses. Paratroopers land in chaos, bridges are lost one by one. The commanders are brave but wrong. By the end, the supposed bridge too far becomes a metaphor for human overreach and misplaced optimism. What makes it unforgettable is its balance of scale and sincerity. The massive battle scenes, thousands of extras, real tanks, real parachutes are breathtaking. Yet Attenborough never loses sight of the individuals swallowed by that chaos. Critics admired its realism even if audiences found it too downbeat. But that honesty is its strength. A Bridge Too Far stands as one of the most uncompromisingly accurate portrayals of a military miscalculation ever filmed. It's not about glory, it's about how even the best plans can crumble when ambition outruns reality. Number 3. Zulu Dawn, 1979. Before modern epics talked about cultural perspective, Zulu Dawn had already done it decades ahead of its time. This prequel to the classic Zulu depicts the real Battle of Ascent in 1879, where Zulu forces delivered a crushing defeat to the British Empire. Director Douglas Hickox approached it with both respect and precision. The film doesn't romanticize imperial adventure, it studies arrogance. Peter O'Toole plays Lord Chelmsford, the overconfident British commander who splits his forces, ignoring every warning. Burt Lancaster's Colonel Durnford tries to speak reason, but is drowned out by pride. The result, one of Britain's worst military disasters. What makes Zulu Dawn stand out is its fairness. The Zulu warriors are not nameless foes, they're strategic, disciplined, and portrayed with dignity. The battle scenes filmed in South Africa with local descendants of the Zulu fighters give the film unmatched authenticity. Cinematographer Asuma Rawi captures the vast plains in breathtaking scope, turning the landscape itself into a silent witness. Elmer Bernstein's music fuses British military tones with Zulu rhythms, creating a haunting contrast between cultures colliding under the sun. The film's climax, an ocean of soldiers swallowed by a tactical masterstroke, remains one of the most visually stunning sequences of the decade. Though overshadowed by its predecessor Zulu Dawn, offers something far more profound, a history lesson in humility. It shows that courage means little when clouded by arrogance, and that true strength often comes from those history tried to forget. Number 2. Soldier of Orange, 1977. Before Paul Verhoeven became famous for sci-fi blockbusters, he directed this powerhouse based on the autobiography of Dutch resistance fighter Eric Hazelhoff Rolf Zema. Soldier of Orange isn't just a war story, it's a coming-of-age epic built from real lives. The film follows a group of university friends in pre-war Netherlands whose paths diverge when the German occupation begins. Some resist, some collaborate, some just try to survive. The brilliance lies in how Verhoeven refuses to moralize. He shows how ordinary people make impossible choices under extraordinary pressure. Rutger Hauer delivers a career-defining performance as Eric, torn between loyalty, fear, and love for his homeland. Each friend's fate becomes a mirror of Dutch society itself, fractured, uncertain, and painfully human. Verhoeven filmed on location across the Netherlands and Britain, recreating key resistance operations with near-documentary accuracy. The pacing is relentless, yet the emotion feels intimate. The betrayals hurt because they're real. The victories feel fragile because they were. By the end, you realize Soldier of Orange isn't about war, it's about identity and how it survives invasion. The film became a national treasure in the Netherlands and later gained cult status worldwide. Its blend of realism, suspense, and moral complexity makes it one of the greatest resistance films ever made. Soldier of Orange reminds us that history isn't black or white, it's lived in shades of gray by people who never asked to be heroes. Number 1. The Ascent, 1977. Some war films make you gasp. The Ascent makes you go silent. Directed by Larisa Shepitko, it's based on the true experiences of Soviet partisans in Nazi-occupied Belarus during 1942. Two soldiers, Sotnikov and Rybak, venture into the frozen wilderness searching for food. When captured, they face a test of morality that no training could prepare them for. Shot in stark black and white, the film turns snow into a symbol of purity and punishment. The cold isn't just environmental, it's spiritual. Every breath feels heavy, every glance between the prisoners and their captors burns with unspoken questions about loyalty, survival, and the soul. Vladimir Gostyukhin and Boris Plotnikov give performances so raw they feel like confessions. Their physical suffering is real, filmed in sub-zero conditions with no makeup, no glamour. Shepitko's direction transforms a wartime story into something universal, the moment when doing the right thing may cost everything. Critics hailed it as one of the most profound films ever made about human endurance. It won the Golden Bear in Berlin, but the director tragically passed away shortly after its release, leaving behind a masterpiece that stands as both her legacy and her testament. The Ascent doesn't ask for applause. It asks for silence, for reflection. It's not about survival, it's about the meaning of being human when everything else is stripped away. These 12 war films prove that truth doesn't need special effects. It already burns brighter than fiction. Each story drawn from real history reminds us that courage, error, and endurance are often inseparable. Some of these films vanished into obscurity, but they deserve a second look and maybe a little respect. Which of these real-life tales impressed you most? Drop your pick in the comments, hit subscribe, and keep history alive one forgotten film at a time.